Hey everybody, today Rahdo runs down Orbis, which is a tile drafting game where 2 to 4 players are gods trying to create their own perfect universe and get a lot of worshippers along the way. And the way it works is, on your turn, you are going to grab either one of these terrain tiles or you're going to declare what god you are. And you take that tile, add it to your own little private universe, do whatever special powers it is, and then it's the next player's turn. Now there's a little bit more to it than that. First of all, every time you play, a certain number of god tiles are going to be revealed, or depending on the number of players. This time we've got the goddess of fire, the goddess of idleness, and the god of death. Look at this guy, he's particularly creepy. If on a turn at some point I want to declare I am the god of death, I'm doing it to get 3 points, but to do it I have to sacrifice 6 of my worshippers. So that might be something I do a little bit later when I've got 6 worshippers. Or if I think I'm going to chase after a lot of volcanoes over the course of the game, I might have my eye on the goddess of fire, because if I have the most volcanoes at the end of the game, I'll score 3 points for her. The idleness goddess, her thing is, well, there are ways you can get negative points for being idle in the game. She doesn't suffer those negative points. Instead, there were 0. So that could be worth a lot, potentially. Plus, she's worth a guaranteed 1 point at the very least. But anyway, it's my turn. I'm the first player. I'm not going to declare what god I am because I don't know if I'm going to need her power or if I'm going to have a lot of volcanoes. So instead, I'm going to grab one of these pieces of terrain. I can pick any one I want, provided I can pay the cost, which is up here. You can see this one requires a blue and a red worshipper. Now, at the beginning of the game, nobody has any worshipers, so I can't grab that one. But all these other starter ones are free. So hey, Volcano Lady, that's interesting. Let's go on ahead and grab this one. So, there's a specific order of events when you grab terrain. First of all the people of these various landscapes are very impressed. If they see a red tile moving, they're inclined to worship red, which means a red worshipper appears in every adjacent tile when I grab a red tile. So I take this, and now if previously some tiles had built up on this, say if these blues had been taken, then I would earn these blue tiles, and then finally I would have to pay whatever it costs. So it's interesting, if there were already red tiles on here, I could use them to pay. But at the beginning of the game, this is a free tile regardless. So I will go on ahead and take this tile, and I don't have to pay anything. The worshippers appear adjacently, and now I add this to my universe. I'll come back to that in a second, but when I do, I get the benefit, in this case, of 2 red worshippers. Alrighty. Now at the end of your turn, you cannot have more than 10 worshippers, so you might have to discard down. But that was my turn. A new tile comes out, and now it's my opponent's turn. They're going to take one, and all of a sudden, these 3 tiles are a little bit more attractive because, hey, you get an extra worshipper. So Jen figures she'll go ahead and take this blue tile, which first of all means blue worshippers appear there. Then she gets this one. She collects this. It doesn't cost anything, and this says, hey, get 2 blue worshippers. So Jen now has 3 worshippers. She's got everything she needs to grab this tile. Alrighty, and then it's my turn. Oh, then a new thing comes out. And, right, so what do I want? Do I want to grab one of these, or, I mean, what the heck? If I'm really going heavy, let's try to grab some more. I will take this one, which means more red worshippers appear adjacent. Bip, 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 bip. And I will take, actually, I don't know if I should do that one right off the bat, though. Yeah, I think I want to mix it up. I don't want to get stuck in one particular thing. And so I'll go for this tile, which will give me 2 white worshippers. And then more white worshippers appear around there. So I take this, the benefit, again, the 2 white worshippers. I will add this to my universe. I'll come back to that in a second. And then a new one appears. And now we're starting to get into the level 2 tiles. From now on, any new tile that comes out is going to have a cost. And they're going to do interesting things other than just give you basic worshippers. But now it's Jen's turn. Remember how she got that red and that blue? She'll end up taking this one. Well, first of all, if there were any on, first of all, because this is a yellow, yellows appear in adjacents. Then, if she would take any that are off there aren't any, then she pays, and she adds this to her universe, and this gives her a special power. For the rest of the game, she never has to pay green worshippers. Green worshippers are effectively free for her. So that's a pretty big deal. And then another level 2 comes out. And so on. Although no actual volcanoes have come out yet. But those are the basics of how the drafting works. And it's really interesting because, of course, as these worshippers start to appear, they can make things cheaper and cheaper. Like, if I take this red, that means there's a red over here. And now that means no one has to pay because this red basically is a discount. And there's a wild card here. So if somebody takes this yellow, that means a yellow will be here. And now all you have to have is one blue to claim this tile that would normally cost 3. And what does it do? Well, this one gives you a set collection element. The white tiles are, there's a race. Whoever has the most of these white symbols can score the big 7 point at the end of a 2-player game. Second place only scores 2 points, as an example. So the draft is interesting because not only are you drafting to get what you want, but you're also potentially creating opportunities for your opponents as well, or setting yourself up for the future. So anyway, and then at some point in the game, sooner or later, maybe you don't like what you see out here, you want to wait for something else. That might be when you decide, you know what, I think I've done enough volcanoes. I am going to be the goddess of death. You take that, and you've declared who you are, and it's like you've skipped a turn, so you can wait to see how the world changes before you come back around. Hopefully something you want appears. Now, there's an interesting thing. Let's see if we can get a tile. So here's a volcano. The first volcano. Say this went away and this came out, right? And so let's say this one's here. To get this volcano, first of all, you'd have to pay 3, although over time this could get cheaper if adjacents are taken. And to score 2 points off of this, when you claim it, you have to wipe out 4 yellow worshippers on the board. So now you might want to take this because you've got a particular reason you want volcanoes. But what if there weren't enough yellow worshippers on the board at the time? Well, you might be afraid. You might want to take it anyway just to grab it because it's necessary. And what that means is if you can't actually complete this, you put one of these little things on here to indicate that, yeah, I claim this and maybe it'll help me at the end of the game, but I don't get the bonus points because I did not kill. You know what? And even if there were 4 yellows out here, I'm not required to kill them. I could forego the 2 points if I wanted to leave those yellow worshippers on the board because maybe I need them for discounts or what have you. So, you know, that's a particularly interesting thing as well. Another interesting thing is, say this tile, this is a forest. This tile gives you 2 points at the end of the game if it's surrounded on 3 sides by other green or forest or blue water tiles. So this has a particular goal. At the end of the game, if you haven't done that, again, you'll get 0 points. So there's that. But there's another element as well. Sometimes when you take a tile, you might not be able to do what it says because there are certain tiles that have requirements that are... Oh, I'm sorry, no, it's not that. Oh, yeah, when you can't do what it says, that's when you put the 0 on, like I was talking about. To go for the rest of the way, let's get this out of the way. Let's talk about a universe that Jen has been building over here. She's already grabbed 3 tiles. And every time she's grabbed one, she's just put off to the side. She's still got some tiles. She's got her special power. Now, the next time she grabs a tile, let's say she drafts this one because she'd like to get a couple more yellow worshippers, right? And it didn't cost her anything. Now, there's a couple different ways she could go. She could put this over here, or she could put this over here on the ground floor of her universe, or she could start building on the second floor by putting it here or here. And the reason she can do that is because whenever you build on a higher floor, the color has to match one of the ones on the lower floor. So if Jen, say, had a forest over here, she would not be able to place this here. That would not be legal. She'd have to put it here or here. And, you know, let's say if ultimately, you know, Jen ended up getting a red over here and she took that because there were a lot of cubes on the board and so she wanted to collect all these cubes. And all of that, she's created an odd situation for herself. This was her ground floor, and then she built this on the second floor. She has cut off her blues. You know, she won't be able to place a blue here, here, or here because there's no color blue. She could place a red or a green here, a green or a white here, a yellow or a white there. So as you build up, you get more and more restricted as to what you can do. You can see here's an example from the rule book. As you build higher and higher, like reds kept going, blues kept going, but these greens got cut off, and then the yellows got cut off. And so eventually you build all the way up until there's only one space. That's where you put your God tile at the top of everything, and then you do scoring at the end of the game. Now, there might be a situation where you are desperate to try to build say, more red tiles, but early on you ended up cutting off your reds. But there's a perfect red out there that you want to do. There is a trick for this. When you take a tile, like maybe I take this tile, and I don't particularly want one yellow. I don't have much use for that. When you take it, you can flip it over and put it as a desolated tile. Now this is a wild color. You can put it any place, although it will lose you 1 point at the end of the game. But now that I've done this, on a future turn, I could now grab that volcano because I can say, hey, that's red. And so suddenly my reds are back in the business because say I was the goddess of flame, which means I have to have the most volcanoes and I thought I had enough, but then somebody makes another one and all of a sudden I gotta clear the way to make more volcanoes. So there are two very interesting elements that go into the thinking of this game. How you're going to draft and thereby create a lot of worshiper options, and you need these worshipers. Hey, you did this, you needed 2 reds and 2 blues. I didn't have what it took. I had 2 blues and a red, but anytime you want, if you have 3 of a given color, that's a wild, so I could have turned that into the red, so that I could have paid all this to get that volcano, which is worth 3 points, although I'd only get the 3 points if there were 3 white and 3 yellow guys out there waiting to be killed by the explosion of the volcano, etc., etc. So the drafting is a very interesting choice, but the building is a very interesting choice as well because, like I said, it just gets tighter and more constricted, and you might find yourself more and more often having to make these things because there's no way you can build what you need to build because the colors just aren't available. But anyway, you keep on building all the way up to the top, up to the tippy top. And let's see. And of course, as you go on, you go through the level 2 tiles, then you start getting to the level 3 tiles that perhaps not surprisingly get more and more expensive. And hey, I got another volcano over there. It was another big explosion, and I was able to pull off another yellow there. And then finally at the very top, this is my universe. I am the god of fire, raining down destruction, and I get my 3 bonus points if I had more volcanoes than anybody else. Or I think if I tie as well, if I recall correctly. But anyway, and along the way, maybe I've gotten extra powers, extra ways to score points. When I built this farm, I had to, at that moment, give up 3 of my followers so they could go found this village, and if I couldn't do that, that would have been points I would have lost. Maybe when I got this volcano, I didn't have it, so I didn't get those points either. But anyway, at the end of the game, you just tally up all the points you do have, and the highest points is the winner. And that, folks, is Orbis. Oh my gosh, this game is great! Great! We really enjoyed it quite a bit. Like I said, there's 2 fundamental halves of the game that you're trying to keep in balance all time. The very tense drafting with all the cool opportunities that come up. You know, suddenly, I couldn't have gotten that before, but now because what you did, you've made it a discount and I can get the tile I wanted. But also the ever super tightening noose of building your universe and getting more and more squeezed. Because, you know, these tiles don't make it easy. The blue tiles, I didn't talk about them. The way they work is you get points if they're put on top of a particular color. So you to do well with these, you really have to plan in advance. You got to make sure the right thing's in place so that you can put this on top to get the points because this water has to flow down into a yellow to score points. The greens always want lots of things of particular colors next to them. The white, again, there's the set collection. Whoever gets the most of these gets 7 points in a 2-player game, or even more with more players. And yeah, really sharp, really fun. I can't think of any downside to this game at all. It's fun, it's fast. I believe it where the box says 45 minutes, even less as a 2-player game. Really, really enjoyable. We like it a lot. This is a keeper for us. And again, I got nothing. I just want to see more gods, because as many gods as there are, I want to see an expansion with even more cool stuff and more cool abilities. But even what comes in this box is really, really great. And I gotta say, it is so nice for a change to have one of these style games that doesn't include some kind of backstabbing element. Hey, we're just gods and we're just gods letting gods live and do what gods do. Everybody just tries to make the best they can. This is very Care Bear friendly, sharp, sharp design. Orbis. And that is the rundown, folks. Thanks very much for watching. Have a very, very nice day. Talk to you later. So long. Bye-bye.